Welcome back. In the days since the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin at the hands of a neighborhood watch volunteer, we've seen dozens of protests in Florida where it happened and all across the country and the world for that matter. But tonight, there's a call for prayer. 11 Alive's Duffy Dixon takes us to Marietta.
We pray.
With bowed heads, dozens from area churches gathered at the Marietta Town Square, lifting up the name of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, praying for his family, praying for the man who shot him, and pondering the response his tragic death has sparked across the nation.
We're not here to protest, and we're not here to get outraged, but we're here to believe that God can and will make a difference. Amen.
To me, prayer is the answer to all things when you talk to the Lord, because He has all power.
Focusing not on their differences, but what they have in common. Parents and grandparents, shoulder to shoulder, saying now more than ever we should be praying for all children.
My son actually is in the Army, and but he was 18, 17, 16, and he wore a hoodie, and every day he would go out, and I would pray for him that he would come back safely, because I know that there's just a lot of distrust and misunderstanding in this world, and I think that we need to address that.
I came out today in support of not only just what happened in Florida with Trayvon, but for all American youth. I think our youth today, as my pastor stated earlier, is surrounded by things that are tragic, left, right, and we all need to come together as a whole for our youth.
This group believing that while protests have their place, prayer may be the bigger step in dealing with the senseless death of Trayvon Martin. Duffy Dixon, 11 Alive News.
Now, we want to look a little bit deeper into the controversy and the debate surrounding the Trayvon Martin shooting. And joining me for that discussion is local civil rights activist Reverend Markel Hutchins and author David Eigen. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming in and talking about this very serious issue. Let's talk a little bit about the case, obviously. We know the salient points. We know what happened. What stands out to you about that confrontation? What is it that you find most notable there?
He was told to stand down. He didn't. He went up there, and so now we have to determine. I'm not sure if we ever will know exactly what happened, because it may be difficult, but certainly something happened which then caused the Trayvon to lose his life.
One has everything to do with the visceral, emotional response that we have seen in people all across the nation. I think people are really feeling Trayvon's presence in their own life and what Trayvon's death means, because in some real sense, many of us believe that it could have been one of our sons or one of our brothers or one of our loved ones.
I wonder some of the times some of the things we look at as being racially motivated is just maybe overworked, underpaid, and a lack of enough police force or apathy or whatever, but has really, it's just across the board. And I think that there's some of that aspect within there too, which is a concern. And it's a concern for everybody.
There are many in the white community who just don't understand why the death of Trayvon Martin has evoked such strong emotion in African Americans along the lines of issues of race. But for many of us, we inherently and instinctively and experientially know that if Trayvon had been Trevor, despite the color or the class of the shooter, someone would have been charged with a crime that night.
David, you were talking about the fact that you are a concealed carry permit holder in Florida. Talk to me a little bit about this stand your ground law. Do you think it was applied correctly here?
It's absolutely not applied correctly, and I don't know that it's actually been brought up. It may have been a defense the Zimmerman family wishes to raise, but it has nothing to do with this situation, because simply it's a defensive posture. It means if I'm being attacked, I can stand my ground. I don't have to run for cover.
Even the supporters of Trayvon know that this is going to be a very difficult case to prove. Anybody want to prognosticate on how you think this is going to play out? Let's start with you, Rick.
I think Zimmerman will be charged with a crime, and I think it will happen this week.
In Florida, if you demand a speedy trial, you can actually move things up, and if they don't proceed and do the right things within the span of time, it's thrown out and they can't go after you. So what I think they're doing, and it may not be this week, not because they wouldn't like to, for example, it's just simply they want to make sure everything is sewn up tight so that there's no possibility that once they do go ahead with it, that it gets thrown out and they lose their standing.
Dr. Eigen, Reverend Markel Hutchins, thank Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight.
Delta's unprecedented business move today, a real departure for Delta and for an airline in general. It is buying an oil refinery outside of Philadelphia. The goal is to cut the airlines and the industry's largest expense. It is jet